Welcome to the Putback with Ian Begley here on SNY.TV. I'm Ian Begley, SNY's NBA insider, and we are going to break things down with the Knicks and the NBA over the next half hour or so. Got two great guests with me. Got Ariel Helwani, big-time Knicks fan, but more importantly, Uncrowned is his venture covering everything that he's always covered, but it's his own baby, and he also obviously has the Ariel Helwani show. So be sure to check that out. And then Shaun Geddes, I'm sure you know him from social media, but I'm Possible is his brand, and he's very passionate about the Knicks. So we're going to get right into it with the baseline. And let's start here, guys. Knicks-Hawks got sloppy. Knicks up 6, 10 seconds to go, blow the lead. I would just wonder, do you come out of this game, Ariel, thinking, man, it's great that they pulled it out, that Jalen Brunson hit the shot at the end, or do you come out of it, scratching your head and upset?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm a massive fan, as I told you a couple of weeks ago when I saw you at the American Dream Mall. So This is a huge honor for me, and I do adore the Knicks. And so anytime I could talk about the Knicks with actual professionals and fans, it's a great treat. So I just had to say that. And shout out to you for all the great work you've done for us over the years as a tremendous beat reporter. I'm thrilled.
That, man.
Obviously, I was sweating. Obviously, I was upset. I was annoyed that we went into overtime. It should have never gotten there. It was reminiscent of 95 with Reggie, the 6 points and all that stuff. Every time that happens, I get PTSD and chills running down my spine. But ultimately, coming off the Celtics performance, and then you're staring at the Hawks and Pacers, or Pacers and Hawks, two teams that obviously we have a history with, that often give us fits, that have given us fits as recently as this season, to head into the All-Star break, winning both of those games back-to-back, one on the road, one at home. Regardless of how we got there, I'm thrilled. Now, of course, are there issues? Were there issues? Are there things that probably shouldn't have happened? Absolutely. But I thought the Pacers win was phenomenal. And for, let's be honest, 85% of that Hawks game, they look pretty damn good. The fact that the Hawks took their first lead of the game in overtime just speaks volumes of how good that game was, how good that performance was by the Knicks, and they just got sloppy towards the end. So I'm not going to lament it. Let's get into the All-Star break, rest up, and be thankful that we end on a 2-game winning streak.
Yeah, getting into the break obviously is great for all these guys, but Karl-Anthony Towns, he said last night that he doesn't want to take a break right now because the Knicks have been playing well these past 2 games, and he has been playing incredibly well. Back-to-back 40-plus point games. Shaun, I'm not going to ask you to judge the trade because that seems obvious at this point, but with Karl-Anthony Towns as one of the centerpieces of this offense, where do you think this Knicks team can go?
I truly believe the sky's the limit, as I've always said, and it's really great. I thought it was going to be after the All-Star break. I was hoping for it. But to see him back in his form that he was in earlier in the season prior to the thumb injury is super reassuring and that bodes well for us going forward. I think that thumb was very clearly bothering him. He didn't look comfortable shooting the ball. He kind of didn't have the same touch around the basket, and he still was playing well, but it was just clearly very bothersome. And now he's back to shooting comfortably, putting up 8 threes in the Pacers game, 10 threes in the Hawks game last night. The more threes Karl Towns shoots, the better this team will be, because not only does that bode well for him shooting, but also that means teams have to come out to him and close out on him a certain way, which opens up the drive for him. And it opens up the backdoor cuts for his teammates and allows him to get assists and allows the offense to flow. So I think that he takes the ceiling of our offense to another level when he's locked in and playing the way he is right now.
He has been locked in lately, absolutely. Ariel, I want to ask you a question, but first of all, I appreciate the kind words, man. That means a lot. So thank you very much for that. For you, Jalen Brunson, when he signed here, what were your expectations? And I mean, just the idea of him going from where you expected him to here. I just want to hear your thoughts on Brunson in particular.
Well, I adore Jalen Brunson. I would do anything for him. I would freaking give my left leg, right arm, my neck, my head, my shoulders for this man. He is the savior, and I can see him. I can envision him holding that trophy one day, and I could feel it, and I just hope it's wearing the orange and blue, because he's a winner and he wins every step of the way. Obviously, it's still kind of weird for me because I remember his dad very well. Didn't know him personally, but I remember Rick Brunson on the Knicks, and so to think that Rick Brunson, who, let's be honest, was 12th man on those Knicks teams late 90s, to think that his son would be our savior is a story that I never would have believed as a 17-year-old. And so here he is. I was surprised when he fell to the second round when he was coming out of Villanova, considering just how good of a player he was in college, what kind of a winner he was in college. And when we got him that day, and remember, we hadn't quite turned the corner just yet, we were showing signs of life. I tweeted that day, and I revert back to this tweet every so often. I said this was the steal of the century. And of course, the new contract is an even greater steal. How could you not love this guy? How can you not want to root for him? Maybe at times people were thinking, okay, there's a bit of a drop off, but look at how he has performed, especially in the clutch moments over the last couple of weeks. He continues to put the team on his back. He continues to come up big. And I feel for him in those moments like last night where he has to sit on the bench because of some perhaps defensive deficiencies while watching, the final seconds tick by. That has to kill him inside. But, I understand why they have to do it. I was a little bit worried that they would make a shot and we would have 4 seconds left and no timeouts, and we just have to roll with whoever was on the court. That being said, we're not, at this point, we don't have our best record since I think it's, 97?
Yeah.
54 games
97.
into the season. Like we don't have this without him. And so I adore the guy, and I'm so happy. You know what I'm most happy about, Ian, and I think you can recognize this as a father and understand this. I'm so happy that my kid's favorite player, the one that they wear his jersey, is Jalen Brunson, because of who he seems to be as a father, as a person, as a man, as a husband, and as a leader and captain. That's the kind of guy that I'm proud that my kids love and idolize, and so I'm so happy that he's on our team.
Yeah, it's a great point. Just the way he carries himself, and the idea that he's a winner on and off the court, and very, very great face of the franchise if you had to pick one. My son, little guy, his name's Miles, so Miles McBride is one of his favorite players, and he says Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson are also his favorite players. So he's right there with your kids. Ariel, Shaun, this team obviously goes into the break 36 wins. Ariel just mentioned it, but what's your biggest concern about the group going into this break here as they get ready to venture on the final portion of the regular season?
I think my biggest concern overall is just, I think from the PTSD from last year, health. I want us to be okay. Watching OG go down, and hurt his foot, it almost seemed like it could be an Achilles thing. So glad it's not. Mitchell Robinson is coming back. Deuce goes in and out every once in a while. So I just want our guys to be out there and be healthy. I want to get to playoff time with the best version of the team we can possibly have. And then with that also, I believe, defense is a concern, but I think with health comes defense, especially with OJ and Mitchell Robinson re-entering the lineup. I just want guys to be healthy. I think that if this team is healthy, I think even with, the 2 beatdowns against Boston that are super unfortunate, I think us being healthy and, ready to go, I got us against anybody.
Yeah, the depth is certainly there if everybody's healthy. Ariel, a little bit of a different question here. I wanted to ask it because of your area of expertise. Which current Knick do you think would be the best UFC fighter?
All right, so current Knick, it's a tough one. Pretty much a week ago, I would have said Jericho Sims, but he doesn't qualify anymore. That is a big boy with big, broad shoulders and very, very strong. He's not an option, and so I'm torn between 2 guys. Josh Hart is scrappy. Josh Hart likes to take a punch and could certainly deliver one if we're playing in this fictitious world of NBA players fighting, and historically they're not great punchers or fighters. But I just feel like he would be scrappy and he would find ways to win. The other one that I'm curious about, and I have a soft spot for him because I never thought that there would be an individual with the name Ariel H on the Knicks. It's the closest I'll ever get to being a New York Knick, and that's Ariel Helwani, who has who has the range. He's got the reach. He seems like a tough dude as well. And so I would say, yeah, there it is, Ariel Helwani, my guy. I want to get a custom Ariel H jersey and pretend that this is me on the Knicks because I was blown away when this transpired. I will be honest, I was not familiar with Ariel Helwani this time last year around the draft time. And so I think Huck Porty, who is someone, by the way, that I would love to see get more minutes. You guys are talking about, depth and bench and whatnot. Every time, he played in that Raptors game, he has these nice bright spots, and then he disappears, and then he doesn't play for 3-4 games. It's very bizarre. And so I'm torn between Josh and Huck Porty. All-time Nick would have to be Oak. Oak for sure. The toughest of all time. That would be my guy. One of my favorite Knicks ever. That's a guy that you want. You want on your squad, and if you're an opponent, you don't want to be facing him. And he did throw some hands back in the day as well, and looked pretty damn good doing it. So I would have to go with the Oak man.
Is it a tough call, Anthony Mason versus Charles Oakley, or is it an easy one?
Ultimately, and it's a great shout. May he rest in peace. I adored Mace, but ultimately, Oakley was more willing, I felt, to throw hands. Sometimes when you're that built as a fighter, when you have those kinds of muscles, you tend to gas out a little bit. It's a lot of show, but no go, if you will. And not suggesting that Mace wasn't a tough dude. He certainly was, but Oak was a little trimmer, and he never backed down. He was the true enforcer on those teams. And so, by the way, I think Starks would have been great too, a bit of a berserker as well. So I wouldn't discount him too, but ultimately you got to go with Oak.
All right. Well, we appreciate you allowing us that hypothetical and sharing your expertise. Now we're going to a segment called What We Learned. What We Learned is presented by Binghamton University. Binghamton University was named the top school in the SUNY system according to recent rankings from the Wall Street Journal and Forbes. Visit binghamton.edu for more. Let's start here. Knicks without OG Anunoby. We'll get into the injury later on, but just the way that they had performed without him. I mean, you look at the last two games, particularly last night, I thought Precious Achiuwa was fantastic against Atlanta. Obviously, you don't want to spend any time without arguably your best two-way player, but I think they weathered the storm pretty well. I mean, the Boston loss was ugly, but outside of that, I think they had weathered it pretty well. Shaun, what about you? What did you learn? What have you learned during this stretch without OG?
So I learned that, it's next man up as always, and guys are going to come together and do what needs to be done. Precious definitely had a great game against Atlanta. What I learned that was negative, unfortunately, is that Tom Thibodeau is not going to be imaginative at all if he's put in a position to have to do so. I feel like Deuce McBride should have started in place of OG, especially against the teams we've seen. I mean, we saw the Celtics no Porzingis. We saw the Pacers no Miles Turner. And I think the Celtics, when you play a good team like that, they're going to exploit whatever exploits you present to them. And so, having Josh and Precious out there, it shrunk the floor for us, and they made us play into that. And I thought that we'd probably combat that after seeing what happened and finally make that adjustment going into the Pacers game, and then we didn't. And so it's no indictment on Precious or anything. I just think that it's a better fit in that lineup for Deuce to provide that spacing. So I've learned that we won't see that. Although I kind of knew that wouldn't be the case, I know for a fact now that he won't make that kind of adjustment. So hopefully everybody just stays healthy.
Yeah, the interesting thing there, we're talking about, Mitchell Robinson coming back at some point, OG Anunoby coming back. I mean, what does that mean for the rotation? I think it's fair to assume that Landry Shamet would be the odd man out, but then you talk about a shrunken floor, Precious Achiuwa, Mitchell Robinson. That would certainly shrink the floor. So, Ariel, put on your Tom Thibodeau sweatsuit, make your voice a little deeper and grovelly, and there you go. What would you do? Mitchell Robinson's back. Everybody's healthy. What would your rotation look like?
Okay, well, can I ask a follow-up? Far be it for me to turn the tables on you here, Ian, but I have two questions that I hope you can educate me on. When the heck is Mitchell Robinson coming back?
Yes.
When the heck? Yeah. So we could play this game, but is he coming back, or is the move to just? Could we just save him for late March at this point? Because Lord knows if he comes back now, there's a very good chance that something might happen. And so, do we really need him now? We've made it this far without him. Should we just save him for the playoff run? I'm not sold on him coming back anytime soon. And the other thing is, I adore the Knicks with all my heart, but let's be honest, we were in this exact position last year with OG and Randall. The secrecy around some of these injuries and the timetable, it sounds like we dodged a bullet with OG, but we also thought we dodged a bullet with the elbow last year, and then we find out he has surgery, and then he doesn't come back, until like 2 months or something like that. And then we all know what happened with Julius Randle. And so I'm almost operating now in a space where we're not getting either of those guys back anytime soon. Am I wrong?
I mean, it's understandable. And with that, why don't we transition to our injury update section, and we can get into all of that. Ariel, nice segue. Appreciate it. The injuries we'll go through here are OG, Mitchell Robinson, Miles McBride, Josh Hart. So with OG Anunoby, I truly do think that they dodged a bullet. I mean, everything that kind of you hear is that there was a sigh of relief when that MRI came back, and it was just a sprained foot, and it wasn't anything like a Lisfranc, or it wasn't obviously nothing to do with the Achilles. So I do think that that sigh of relief was legitimate. And, Tom Thibodeau has talked about the idea that this is kind of precautionary with OG Anunoby, that they're being careful, that it's not necessarily, some big structural issue that they have to be worried about, that they just want to, give it the time to heal. He was saying yesterday that, it's just about how he wakes up the next day after he works out. So there's a process, and the idea that they listed him as questionable, I don't think that was total gamesmanship. I think there was maybe a hope that he could get a game in before the break just to see how it would react. Obviously, he didn't get there, but I don't think that this is the kind of thing where he's going to be out, until early April. I do think that he'll be back on the floor. Mitchell Robinson, similar. I mean, it's concerning and strange that he hasn't been cleared for 5-on-5 yet. But if we get to, let's say we get to that Bulls game, their first game back, and Tom Thibodeau says Robinson still hasn't been cleared for that 5-on-5, then I think you get a little concerned. But all along here, they've been very cautious with him. He talked about it with beat reporters in Indiana, just the idea that the rehab's been fine. There's been no setback. It's just been a slow, steady process where he wants to make sure his body is right and he can come back at 100% health and avoid some of the ailments that he's had in the past. And so to me, that makes sense. I think similarly, you're going to see him early March, mid-March, get his legs back, and then, be ready for mid-April. I think that would be the way they play it, and we'll see how it goes. But then just quickly, Josh Hart, he's dealing with something. He doesn't really want to talk about it. He denied that he would need any kind of surgery. And Miles McBride, I'm assuming that he's relatively fine and back after the All-Star break. He had that rib contusion flare up, but I don't think it's a major thing. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of injured parts there for the Knicks that they have to figure out. But Ariel, given that, I'm going to come back to you.
Well,
Thibodeau suit on. Let's hear it.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right with all of that. And by the way, yesterday when Hart went down, when there was that scramble on the court and he fell on his hip or something like that, I was holding my breath. So ultimately, the question is what they should do. And as you said, Precious was really impressive yesterday. I was really, really impressed with him, especially towards the end. He got that big rebound, got fouled. And, he's been a little hit or miss this season, especially, coming off the injury to start the year. And so I don't mind. I mean, I think in retrospect, I understand what Shaun said, but in retrospect, they went 2-0 against those teams. So you can't really say that it was a mistake to not start Miles McBride. I'll be honest. Miles has been, he hasn't been as consistent as I would have liked. It seems like every time we need that big three from him, it doesn't quite fall. So I would love to see a little bit more out of him. Once those guys come back, Landry appears to be the odd man out. But again, I would love to see more from Huck Porty. I really have been impressed from him, with him, from everything that he's done. But ultimately, I agree with Tom. And by the way, I just want to say I'm an unabashed Tom Thibodeau supporter. I don't stand for any Tom Thibodeau slander, in large part because I remember not that long ago the Jeff Hornacek era and the Derek Fisher era and the Fizdale era. I mean, we could complain about minutes all we want, but would you prefer to go back to that? Come on now. Enough with the complaining.
Don't forget about Kurt Rambis.
Kurt Rambis, and what was it? Mark Miller? Was that another one?
Miller did
Mike
a
Miller,
solid job as an interim guy.
He
But
did
a
a good job.
A lot of struggles.
I have something to say to that.
Go
Go ahead, please.
I'm cool with Tom Thibodeau. I'm not a Tom Thibodeau basher at this point. I was when he deserved it, but he doesn't deserve that now. It's just like, because the same way if Jalen Brunson goes out there and has a bad game, I have to say that Jalen Brunson had a bad game. If Tom Thibodeau makes a mistake, Tom Thibodeau made a mistake, and I can't have him make costly mistakes. We had a game a couple weeks ago where he finally did the offense-defense substitutions. He took out Jalen, and he left Cat in the game, which is weird to me because Cat had 5 fouls. And then Cat picked up his 6th foul on that play, and it's like, why did you do that? So when you talk about remembering the coaches, one thing I do remember very vividly is in Game 1 against the Celtics a few years ago, when in the playoffs, when Amari decided to pull his back in warmups, and Carmelo Anthony went out there by himself with Tony Douglas and Jerry Jeffries and Ronnie Turioff, and scored 42 points, 17 rebounds, and 6 assists. It was 92-91. And I was like 17 years old. I'm in my living room. We call timeout. It's our ball. We're down by 1. I'm like, all right, cool. Good thing we got a timeout. He'll get Jerry Jeffries off the court because Jerry Jeffries is offensively inept. It makes no sense for Jerry Jeffries to be out there, sub Shaun Williams in to put him in the corner. That way, when they double Melo, he has a viable kick out. We come out of the timeout. Jerry Jeffries comes into the game. I'm very confused as to why Jerry Jeffries is on the court. They double Melo. He passed to Jerry Jeffries, who's wide open. Jerry Jeffries drops the ball out of bounds. We lose the game. So it's like, yeah, I remember Mike Miller. I remember Jeff Hornacek, but all those don't matter to me. I need this team, when we get to where we have to get to be used as optimally as possible. And that doesn't mean it can't be Tom Thibodeau, but that means I need Tom Thibodeau to be open to doing what's optimal.
It's a fair point, and yeah, in the here and now.
Can I just ask? I mean, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like, no. I get what you're saying, and I see this a lot on Twitter as well. But the circumstances, and you have a tremendous memory, so you may remember like how much time was left in that game with Cat being in there, and why wouldn't you want Cat in there? I know that at times he's had issues, especially with the pick and roll and on defense, and we can nitpick. But like, who else but Cat? And was OG injured at the time? Was Precious in? Like, there's a lot of circumstances that
I wish I remembered exactly what game it was and how much time was left, but it was an only defense possession at that point. Like, you're already going to make the sub to get Jalen back in the game, so you need to call, like, it's not going to get stuck out there with whoever you put. I honestly, and I wasn't even an advocate of playing Jericho Sims, but Jericho Sims' one skill is switchability. Just put anybody out there who, 1, plays the pick and roll well, but 2, doesn't have 5 fouls. Because now when you put him out there with 5 fouls, he picks the 6th foul up, and now you don't have him for the offensive possession. So I thought you put Jericho out there, you put Ariel Helwani out there, anybody that doesn't have 5 fouls.
So my one thing on Thibodeau, I think it's valid. I just don't understand, if they're up big, down big, a few minutes to go, why the starters are in there. I've got my theories. That's the one thing where you can't, I haven't heard reasoning that makes sense to me for why those guys would be out there. I think he's playing with fire. Other people think he's playing with fire. And
what is your theory, by the way?
I've got one that I'm going to keep to myself only because maybe I'll report it someday. But the other one is, he, as he says publicly, like he wants the guys to be out there kind of learning with each other, and also it's a new group, so give them time to be on the floor. And then he sometimes will reference Tracy McGrady, Rockets, crazy comeback. I think 13 points, and maybe it was under a minute or a little over a minute. And so, Julius Randle said Tibbs needs to go to therapy for that because he clearly has some PTSD, and yeah, maybe that's part of it too. But yeah, I just think that part is it. That's the one where I scratch my head. We're gonna pivot right now to a little Luka Doncic section here because Ariel, you tweeted, even if Luka wasn't going to resign, even if they had concerns about his conditioning, that's what you got for him. Knicks traded 85 first for Bridges. Dallas got 1. Obviously, the trade confused you. I'm wondering, Shaun, does that change how you look at the Bridges deal once the Doncic trade happens?
Not at all. Not at all. One, I think we had a Nets tax, clearly. Like, the Nets didn't want to trade him to us, so we had to pay a little extra to get him. And at the end of the day, like, I'm not missing any of those picks, pick number 26. We do just fine, with the late talent in the second round. Ariel Helwani is really talented. He was like the 58th pick. So I'm not worried about that. And also, I think people don't take into account that Anthony Davis, albeit oft injured, is a top player on both sides of the ball. And people look at we included Bojan Bogdanovic and a bunch of picks. We didn't include a player with the caliber of Anthony Davis, and the market shifts all the time. I mean, Rudy Gobert was traded for 5 first-round picks, and that changed the market. Kyrie Irving was traded for like pennies on the dollar. You can't view what you receive. And also, the Lakers were given a favor. Luka would never even hit the market to be viewed for what his actual market value would be. Something clearly happened on the back end. Even Jason Kidd didn't know, which is weird. So I don't think it makes sense to equate that to the Knicks situation. I think a lot of times we have to realize that there's 30 teams in the NBA and they operate separately. And every time people make a move, I see, the Knicks, Leon, what are you doing? And it's like, come on, man. We've made the move to assemble a fantastic team, the best team we've had in a very long time. And we won't miss those picks when we're hoisting that trophy.
And by the way, can I just say, Ian, that tweet wasn't an indictment on the Knicks or Leon Rose. It was an indictment on the Mavericks. I'm totally at peace with the Bridges trade, and I would do it again because of what he brings to the table. It was just the dumbest trade in the history of sports. Literally, I've been racking my brain. I mentioned Gretzky to the Kings in the late 80s, but Gretzky had already won 4 Stanley Cups for the Oilers. Some other people said like Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. All right, fine. You don't trade top 3, top 4 best players in the league at 25 for an oft-injured center and 1 first-round pick. It's the stupidest trade of all time. It's the worst trade of all time. And I really do think that there is more to this story. I think more is going to come out because there has to be more. The fact that they didn't call everyone and the, as a reporter, I'm listening to Nico Harrison in his press conference saying he wanted to just talk to the Lakers because he didn't want it to get out. He wanted to make sure it didn't get out. You were more concerned about it getting out that Luka was on the block than just getting the best trade in return for Luka. Who cares if it gets out? Let the world know. Stand on top of freaking the Empire State Building with a megaphone and let everyone know, give me your best offer. We have essentially a year to trade this guy before he becomes a free agent, and get everyone's best deal from the Grizzlies to the Raptors to the Hawks to the Celtics, and then make the deal. Who cares if it gets out? Why are you trying to do this, behind everyone's back? So that guy, man, I feel for Mavs fans. I don't know how you can continue to be a Mavs fan, and especially with their owner, governor, I don't know what to call them these days. That guy seems like a clown as well. So commiserations, Mavs fans. At least you won a title in 2011. So at least you got that.
I got to get into the owner too, but first, I think the one aspect there of him trying to be secretive is Luka can then come in and tell teams he's not going to re-sign with them, and maybe they're a little gun shy on putting together a big offer. I'm not agreeing with how he went about it, but it makes sense just from that perspective. But this owner, Patrick Dumont, I think he's owned the team for 5 minutes, and he comes out, does an interview after the trade where he says, you look at the greats in the league, Jordan, Bird, Kobe, Shaq, they worked really hard every day with a singular focus to win. If you don't have that, you shouldn't be part of the Mavericks. Just taking a shot at Luka Doncic on the way out, to me, was unnecessary. And also, it doesn't add up because in Nico Harrison's press conference, he said when he first took the idea of trading Luka to the owner, to Dumont laughed. So was it a crazy idea, or was it because Luka didn't fit your culture? It can't be both. Definitely. And so I think he's kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth, trashing the star on the way out. Never a good look. It reminds me of the Knicks did with Porzingis after they traded him. It just seems small. And, for this guy to reference winning habits in the NBA when he's been an owner, again, for 2 days, it makes no sense. You were watching inside stuff, and that's how you got your insights, just like the rest of us. So, to call out Luka like that, absurd. And I thought it was a bad look. But I digress. Let's get back to the Knicks here. We all, I'm sure, have plenty of Luka takes. All-Star break. Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, Brunson 3-point contest, both of them obviously playing in the game. Did they have anything to prove? To me, All-Star games don't matter a lot, but I would like to see there be some effort given. What do you think, Shaun? Anything for either of those two guys to prove?
The format of this All-Star game is weird to me, and I wish it wasn't the case. I wish that Jalen and Cat were just both on the same team and it was East versus West. I don't even really fully understand what they're doing for the game yet. As far as the 3-point contest, Jalen for sure has something to prove, but not to anyone but his father. because after he missed last year, that would have gotten him to the next round. He said he heard from the stand somebody saying, "You suck," and it was his dad. So, I feel like he's got to go back out there now and get it back in blood for his dad.
That's a great point. I forgot about that. Ariel, how about you? What are you looking for?
Man, I love the All-Star game, and I'm a old school fan of the All-Star game. I was so happy that one year, I think it was '93, when it was Ewing, Oakley, and Starks together. It was like such a proud moment, and this feels like the best moment since, because we have two and they're both starters. And so I wish they could just keep it to East versus West. I understand that they're trying to mix it up. I don't know if it's going to work well. The NHL has figured it out phenomenally well, what they've done with this Four Nations tournament. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but Canada versus the US versus Finland versus Sweden. If we did some sort of breakdown like that, especially with how global the game has gotten, that would be amazing. I don't think that they can maybe fill those four teams. Maybe we could do a USA, Canada, France, I don't know, Serbia, Germany situation. In any event, this feels like it's a little flat. And you know what annoys me most about this, Ian? We made this whole big to-do about, okay, this guy was voted a starter, this guy was voted a starter, 5-5, East, West. But ultimately, there's going to be more than 10 starters because there's 4 teams of 8. So there's technically going to be 20 starters, right? Because these games aren't 3-on-3 or something like that. So I feel like the rollout has been a little bit clunky, much like the NBA Cup, if I'm being honest. I know it's a different discussion for a different day, but the rollout of this, the education behind what exactly we're doing and what we're seeing, what's that 4th team, the Rising Stars who win on Friday, it's all just a little bit confusing. And as a Knicks fan, I wish we could just see, East, West, and our 2 guys, in the starting lineup whenever they tip off.
Yeah, you don't want to confuse your fans, and I'm with you. I think you hit on 2 things. Maybe they should do 3-on-3. I think that would interest people. And also, domestic versus foreign-born players. I think that's a way to draw eyeballs, but I'm not Adam Silver. I don't get paid to make those decisions. But let's see how it works this weekend. Let's see. Could be exciting. Let's see. So before we get to final thoughts, I just want to know quickly, end of this month, start of March 1st, I believe, is when the Knicks have enough room under the second apron to add a prorated veterans minimum contract. I do believe TJ Warren is going to get consideration for that role. I don't know exactly which way they'll go, but I'm sure he'll get consideration. He's been really good in the G League. Tom Thibodeau said the other day that he respects what Warren, a 9-year veteran, has done. He's been down there mentoring younger guys and playing really well. So just something to keep an eye on as we move forward here. But fellas, we're going to close here. I'm curious. Shaun, predictions for this quote unquote second half of the season, this final run for the Knicks. Where do you think they end up?
Jalen Brunson averages 30 points a game for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Karl Towns ends up second team All-NBA just because, Jokic. And the Knicks, I believe, get the 2 seed. We get the 2 seed, and what are we now? 36-18. We end up 56-26.
Strong. I like the takes. We'll put them on a checklist. We'll see what happens. And Ariel, you give me your predictions.
Shaun, I like the optimism, man. I'm going to say we end up 3rd, which I'm kind of secretly hoping Boston can catch Cleveland because I don't want to play Boston in the second round, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we end up 3rd, and then I think we go on a magical run, baby, and finally champions for the first time since 1973. I will admit we had a beautiful window last year. I really did think that there was an opportunity. Obviously, the injuries caught up with us, but OKC is much better now. And obviously Cleveland is looking great. And I think the Hunter trade was tremendous for them. Boston is Boston. But I think we could get it done. I really do think we could get it done. I'm praying. I just want one, guys. I just want one. I know, Ian, you can't say that because you cover them, but deep down you want one too, damn it. And we all want one, and it would be so great. Just give us one, for God's sakes. I'm still lamenting the fact that my Bills had their heart broken. I just want one in my life, and I'll die a happy man.
You know what? I am a neutral observer, but the idea of maybe you and Shaun jumping around, pouring champagne on each other, I do like that.
You'd be happy. I know you can't say you're a true blue, tremendous journalist, but deep down, you'll smile. Miles will be happy, so you'll be happy as well.
Yeah, when it comes to that's when my son's happy, that makes me happy. And we'll see how all of our kids, Ariel, take in the rest of the season. It's going to be interesting. We're going to leave it there, though. So for Ariel Helwani, you know where to catch him. Uncrowned, the Ariel Helwani Show, and Shaun Geddes. You can find his Knicks thoughts all over social media. I'm Possible is his brand. Be sure to check those guys out there. Thank you so much for joining us, fellas. We will be back February 25th, 1 p.m., next edition of the Putback, and we hope to see everybody then. Thanks for being here.